Show right here on 99.3 Nigeria Info. My name is Tunji Andrews, and we're going to be talking about issues around financial reporting in Nigeria and us against the code. We're going to be joined by Mr. Nelson Anumaka, the Director Head of Corporate Governance at the FRC, the Financial Reporting Council. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So, let's start from the basics. For those people who do not know in detail what the FRC do, because I think when there's some people even you find that it's also FRCN, and some people confuse it. Is it a radio station? Is it what are you people entertainers? What exactly does the FRC do?
FRC is Financial Reporting Council and a regulatory agency of the federal government that promotes investments in Nigeria by ensuring standards of financial reporting and corporate governance. The council is also responsible for independent public oversight of accounting, auditing, financial reporting, and corporate governance by setting, monitoring, and enforcing compliance with related standards. It also advises the government on accounting, auditing, financial reporting, and corporate governance matters. And to fulfill all these mandates, the FRC Act grants the Council the powers to do all these things connected with the above duties.
So basically, it's a council being backed by law to basically regulate the areas of reporting as concerns companies and institutions. So let's go to there is a new code being put forward by the FRC. Could you help tell what it was created to achieve? I'm guessing in relation to the difference between the last code.
Yeah, Section 11C of this FRC code we just talked about provides that FRC shall ensure good corporate governance practices in the public and private sectors of Nigeria economy. And in so doing, it created the Section 49 of the same Act by establishing a Directorate of Corporate Governance for the FRC. And whereas Section 50 of the same Act sets out the objectives of the Directorate, Section 51 spells out the functions of the Directorate. The new code will strive to achieve the following. Number one is to provide consistent standards for governance and stimulate the use of the best governance practices across the sectors of the economy, to facilitate a sound and transparent system of checks and balances within companies, and to provide protection for investors and other stakeholders through compliance with the code. Above all, to attract domestic and foreign direct investment, and to make decision-making efficient by separating functions, clarifying responsibilities, and delegating appropriately. The issue of executive chairman, managing director,
FSS, PSI,
whatever it is.
QSS.
Exactly. And also to ensure accountability and provide transparency to outsiders. It gives shareholders and other stakeholders also basic rights, and to key in to the government's policy of initiative of ease of doing business. That's basically why the new code is brought out.
I thought about the thought of you spoke about earlier to attract foreign investors. I will touch on that a little later, but there was a previous code that was, I think, set up in 2016, and a few people had issues with it. How does the new code differ from the old one? Because, I mean, if we put them side by side, I guess they are both to cover the industries. But how does this one significantly differ from the last one?
Yes, the old code became so contentious that it was suspended by the federal government. And why? The previous code, it was a rule-based code. Why this new one is a principle-based code?
You're going to explain that, sir.
I am going
before
to
you
do
confuse me and the rest of Lagos.
Yes. By principle, we mean judgmental, I give you an example. You bought a brand new car and you went to a party, and by 1 a.m. in the midnight,
I don't party, by the
okay,
way.
and you hit the traffic lights,
Yeah.
and you discover that the thing is on red, and you look by your side and you just drove off. That's principle based, because you cannot be there by 1 a.m. because you don't know if these bad boys are around you. All right? Whereas if it is rule based, it means you have
must
to
stay
wait.
there, whatever happens.
And by the time you stay, whatever happens to you, good luck.
Yeah.
So that
Really, I have been stuck with that conundrum a few times where it's in the middle of the night, you're stuck at the traffic light, and you're thinking to yourself, hey, and I'm waiting because I want to pass, but I can't drive past. So I'm just there,
Yes.
and I'm looking left, looking right, observing everywhere, just in case somebody just starts running at me. So with my leg on the accelerator. All right. So any other differences between
Yeah,
the first
there are basic differences. One also is that there was no clear definition of public interest entity in the suspended code, and also there were conflicts with relevant provisions of the CAMA, that's Companies and Allied Matters Act, and other existing laws. The new code has resolved all these conflicts. Then people were also contending that there was high cost of governance from the prescription of minimum board size,
okay.
number of independent directors, and the ratio of executive directors to non-executive directors. The new code has no prescriptive numbers.
So it's really up to the company to decide.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And then, furthermore, the concept of lead independent directors was dropped completely in the new code. The suspended code also prescribed the tenure and cooling off periods for directors, but the new code did not.
Okay, so that was that thing about if I think the chairman or I can't remember which one it was, the CEO or the chairman, he has a tenure of 10 years to be able to. So if it exceeds 10 years, then he has to leave. That City of Lagos, you remember at some particular point, some bank MDs had to rotate out of the. I say rotate out of the company because they didn't actually leave, but they rotated out. Yeah, they rotated out. So the new code doesn't specify tenure.
It does not specify
Okay,
tenure.
well.
But then it specified tenure for independent directors
Oh, okay.
for 9 years. Because when you are independent, for how long will you be independent?
You have to be committed.
Yes. And then after 9 years, you discover that you have become part of the company
Exactly.
or the organization.
It's like being in a relationship for 9 years. That's marriage.
Oh, yes. Then the issue of joint audits was also dropped from the new code,
Okay.
as it is deemed to be an audit regulation issue for Financial Reporting Council. Then prohibition of outsourcing of internal audits by companies in the old code was reversed by allowing companies to so do. Then in the old code or the suspended code, there was no transition arrangements at all. Whereas the new code requires reporting on the code in annual reports in financial years ending on or after January 1, 2020.
So it's quite interesting, especially with the robustness of the new code. I did see the document. City of Lagos is big. I read through it. I read through it. A lot of terminologies in the code that I think you have to be some sort of an accountant to understand, because I had to have Google beside me, and I'll just Google it and then I'll read again. I'll be like, what's this one? I'll Google again and I'll go back to. But the one I did not understand, final, is the apply and explain principle. If you can help us, break that down. So the new code, I think at some point said that it would what's the term now? Apply and explain principle to issues of corporate governance. I did not understand it. I read, and I think everybody that was trying to explain it across the world just believes that only people that are accountants will ask that question. So they were explaining to accountants, And since I'm not one, I did not get it.
All right, when we talk about apply principles, we have 28 principles in the entire code.
Okay.
And what we are saying that they are ideals that every company should strive
To uphold.
in their governance journey.
Yeah.
And in fact, they are basic and fundamental to good corporate governance. But when we talk about explain, we're saying that companies are required to provide explanations for the recommended practices that have been implemented, or how these or other chosen practices implemented have delivered the expected outcomes of the principles.
Oh, okay.
So-
So basically, it is you trying to, give them the leeway to be able to not just be rigid, but okay, you can explain what exactly is happening. Oh, okay, now I get it.
Exactly.
You see, why don't you just say it like that?
Well, the philosophy will assist in preventing this box ticking thing.
Yeah.
While,
Exactly. Like
while ensuring that companies consider how they have or they have not achieved the intended outcomes.
especially with the context of a country like Nigeria, where not everything is black and white. Some things are a bit shade of blue, shade of green. So it gives them the opportunity to be able to explain the details of the code.
Exactly.
So I want to ask. So I know that you've been doing some nationwide. What's the word now? Consultation. Yeah, trying to speak to corporations. How's the reception been?
Oh, it's fantastic. It was fantastic. In all the locations we went, we had so much numbers, and people were excited that this brand of code is quite distinct from what they hitherto saw in 2016. And the essence was to engage as much as possible so that the code will be generally acceptable
Yeah.
in the country.
And I've seen a few people talk about it. I do remember seeing somebody tweet about it recently, and for me, I remember to the old code, it kind of just caught everybody unawares. It's like 1 minute we didn't have a code, the next minute we had a code, and everybody had to fall in line, which of course was an issue. But I'm guessing that's the reason why we're doing the nationwide consultation now. Yeah, and of course, hoping that. So when do we expect it to be passed?
Well,
All things being equal.
the technical committee has concluded its job, and
Okay.
then they have submitted it to the board of FRC, and the board of FRC is considering between the end of this month and maybe first week of October to turn it out. At least it will become an independent day
Yeah.
or Republican Day thing. So
Where will that happen? Because I don't mind if we might just like to cover that and see what happens, because that's massive for the whole sector as a whole. Clem is right here. She's just looking at me with side eye, because she should be there to see how it actually comes down.
yeah, we will invite you, because we are making the arrangements, and the board is going to meet maybe in the next 2 weeks to finalize where it will happen. For now, nobody's sure, but we are thinking of Nigeria Economic Group Summits.
Oh, the NESG.
Yes.
Oh, that's also
We are thinking that we can go there.
my people too.
Yes.
And let me even start to point out, especially with the issues, and of course, City of Lagos. This is one of the reasons why I was pretty excited to bring them on, especially in the context where Nigeria and we've been tagged anyhowness with a lot of things. We just do things in some certain ways that are not very viable to global best practices, as against even somebody wants to look at your business in the, from outside Nigeria, and he's not sure that he's getting the very truth about it. If there's a code like this holding businesses to be able to raise to a higher standard. It just kind of gives everybody a better impression about how business is done in Nigeria. The question, however, I want to ask, and this is, will we obey the code? You know, Nigeria. Do you think we will? I'm not looking at him, City of Lagos. I'm trying not to look at him.
Yeah, we will. We will, because the benefits of entrenching the code in the system far outweighs any other option that you can think about. Because effective code of corporate governance practices make good business sense.
Of course, of course.
Yes. And you discover that countries, like you said, countries with strong corporate governance practices, they attract capital. And if today the international investors are trying to come to Nigeria, they will shy away if you don't guarantee them investors' rights, if you don't provide adequate corporate disclosures.
Of course.
And then
importantly, that self.
And then if you do not ensure good board practices by having the right people, the right mindsets, and the right skills.
Anyway, City of Lagos, I will be following this story for you. Basically, for me, it's always about doing things the right way. So it's about how we can make sure that businesses are properly, at least they're giving us the complete truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help them God. I'd want to thank the FRC for being with us on the show. I don't know how we're able to get you into the studio, but want to thank you, Mr. Nelson Anumaka, Director, Head of Corporate Governance, Financial Reporting Council. It's been a pleasure having with you on the show. And after the code has been passed into law, we're hoping that we can have you again to just kind of recap thoughts of everybody that was at the official launch, and then see what next for the code itself and the FRC. Want to thank you again for being with us on the show. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
City of Lagos. So yes, you heard it. So the FRC will be hopefully before the end of the month will be instituting the new code into law. That's the Financial Reporting Council. No, it's not a radio station. It is the Financial Reporting Council, and this is a law-backed. It's a law. In fact, I was going to say it's something backed by law. It's a code backed by law. Yes, yeah, and basically it will be passed into law, and it will cover reporting for all companies, institutions across the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it's our work to try and bring you those news. All right, City of Lagos, tomorrow is Policy Wednesday on the show. We will be touching issues as concerns Theresa May's visit to Nigeria, what she brought, good tidings, yes or no. Angela Merkel's visit to Africa, what she brought, good tidings, yes or no. Right now in China, there is the China-Africa, the Beijing Africa Conference is going on right now, where President Muhammadu Buhari is at the moment. And there's a lot of things going on in that meeting. There's also the bilateral trade agreements being set up, China offering a lot, other countries in Africa trying to get in space. We're going to try and look at this in detail. A lot of the Beijing African conferences have usually been swept under the rug because I don't think Nigerians really understand what goes on there. But it's big. It's a big deal in China. If you have CCTV, I think it's free on that cable station. For the next couple of days, that is all they will be talking about. I just bet me. I've not gone to check, but that has been it historically. Usually after that, there is an America-Africa conference, which is a similar or replication of this Beijing Africa conference. Why should you know this? Because everybody is planting their flags. And the EU wants to plant its flag. The UK wants to plant its flag. Beijing wants to plant its flag. America wants to plant its flag. And where do you think they're trying to plant their flag on? Yes, Africa, Nigeria specifically. And why should you know the details of that? Because you are Nigerian. And the details of what happens in this 1 week may affect your future. We're going to be talking with Mr. Rotimi Sankoria tomorrow. And we're trying to get another policy expert in the studio also to speak to us about the details of that. Let's just look at the details of policy going forward, backwards, what this week will mean for us in every ramifications. We just hear headlines go 300 billion something something, and the headlines look so sexy and beautiful, and we move on. And we go on Twitter and fight about it and quarrel. Nigeria's just, what do you mean? Are you not bringing development? What are the finer details? They say the devil is in the details, and nobody is giving free lunch, not even in Freetown. Think about it, City of Lagos. So you do not want to miss tomorrow's show. It's going to be bumper packed here in the studio. Also, I'm trying to push to see if we can get somebody to come into the studio to talk about the new tax laws on Friday. There's been some modifications to the tax laws as it concerns you. They're looking a bit, I don't know if the word is stringent or it's actually looking quite funny. And we're going to get a tax expert from one of our nation's leading tax companies to come and speak to us about that, to try and help us understand it, because your company is affected by tax issues. You are affected by tax issues. Anyway, but the general context is, I think it's still the FIRS that is still the lead push in this area. But I also hear that some state inland revenue services are also looking to follow suit with the FIRS. Yes. Scary, right? Well, not really. Just for you to understand the details of it and know how it concerns you, so that you don't fall to the wrong side of that law. And sometimes, from what I hear, they might just freeze your account. Yeah, that's what the news is coming out. They might just freeze your account. Or even worse still, they might just dip their hands in and take the money out. I didn't want to say that, but yes, City of Lagos, that is the truth. So between Friday and Monday, I will get the expert here. And he's in South Africa right now doing some other issues. And I'm trying to see, because I think he's one of the most experienced people in that sector. So we'll try to get him in Friday or Monday to talk to you about those issues. So City of Lagos, we want to thank you again for being with us on the show. Thank you for joining us every day. We want to thank Mr. Nelson Anumaka again for being with us on the show from the FRC. It has been a pleasure talking to everybody. City of Lagos, if you look at your timepiece, we are just about getting to 10 o'clock on the dot. Still a very young morning to go out and be profitable.